Welcome to The Explainer. When you look at a map of India today, it seems so permanent, so solid. But have you ever wondered how it got that way? Today, we're going to trace the incredible story of how the modern political map of India was drawn, redrawn, and believe it or not, continues to evolve.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the absolute puzzle that was India in 1947. Then, we'll check out the constitutional tools that made it all possible. After that, we'll see how the first draft of the map was put together, how it got revised over and over, and finally, where things stand today.
So, to really get how India was built, you have to go back to the beginning. We've got to start with the incredibly complex, fragmented map the British left behind. And trust me, it was anything but a single, unified country.
Okay, so picture this. 1947 wasn't just one India, it was really two. On one hand, you had British India. These were the provinces that were directly ruled by the British Crown, with a viceroy calling the shots. But then, and this is the wild part, you had the princely states, over 500 of them. These places had their own native rulers, their own rajas and nawabs, but, and it's a big but, they were all under the paramountcy of the British. Basically, it was a fancy word for saying the British Crown had the final say on everything important. I mean, just think about the sheer scale of this challenge. The British are packing up and leaving, and suddenly 552 of these princely states are faced with a massive choice. Do we join India? Do we join the new nation of Pakistan? Or do we try to go it alone and stay independent? Imagine trying to build a single country out of that. So, the big question is, how on earth do you forge one single map from all that chaos? Well, the answer, and it's a brilliant one, lies right there in the first 4 articles of the Indian Constitution.
Right off the bat, in the very first article, the founders made an absolutely crucial distinction. They described India as a union of states. Now that might sound like just semantics, but it wasn't just a word choice. It was a foundational declaration with huge implications.
So think about the United States. It's a federation, because independent states came together and agreed to form a country. India is the total opposite. It's a union. The states didn't come together to create the nation was formed first, and it holds the states together in a bond they literally cannot break. The union created the states, not the other way around. And this leads to a fantastic quote, often attributed to the great Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that just sums it all up perfectly. India is an indestructible union of destructible states. Let that sink in. The nation itself, India, is unbreakable. But the states within it, their borders, their names, even their very existence, that's a whole different story.
So where does this incredible power come from? It comes from Article 3 of the Constitution. This is the game changer. It basically gives Parliament a pen to redraw the internal map of India whenever it sees fit. And get this, it can be done with just a simple majority vote. No massive, complex constitutional amendment needed.
Okay, so now that we know they had these incredibly powerful constitutional tools in their back pocket, let's see how that first draft of the map actually got made. And that starts with the monumental task of getting all those 552 princely states to join the new union.
Now, most of the states did join pretty peacefully, after a bit of firm persuasion from leaders like Sardar Patel. But there were 3 big holdouts, and each one created its own high-stakes drama. You had Hyderabad, this massive, wealthy state right in the heart of India, which was integrated through what was diplomatically called a police action. Then there was Junagadh, where the ruler actually wanted to join Pakistan, but the people voted overwhelmingly in a referendum to join India instead. And of course, there's Kashmir. Its ruler signed the instrument of accession to India while facing an invasion, and that single act set the stage for a long and incredibly complex history.
So with the princely states now in the fold, the first draft of India's map was more or less complete. But the ink was barely dry, and the next chapter of map-making was already starting. This time, it was driven by a powerful new demand from the people: language. At first, the national leaders were really hesitant about this. After the absolute trauma of partitioning the country based on religion, they were worried that creating states based on language would just stir up more division and weaken the new nation. But the public pressure was immense. It tragically culminated in the death of a protester, Padi Srilamulu, after a 56-day hunger strike. That event sparked massive unrest, and it really forced the government's hand. So in 1953, the very first linguistic state, Andhra, was created for Telugu speakers. And let me tell you, that one decision opened the floodgates. It set off a chain reaction. By 1956, you had the States Reorganization Act, which redrew the entire map on a massive scale, creating new states mostly along linguistic lines. But it didn't stop there. In 1960, the huge Bombay state was split into Maharashtra and Gujarat. Then in '66, Punjab was divided 3 ways to create a Punjabi-speaking state, a Hindi-speaking state, Haryana, and to give its hilly regions to Himachal Pradesh. The whole map of northeast India was reconfigured in the '70s, and even as recently as the year 2000, 3 large new states were carved out, not for language this time, but for better administration.
And what's so fascinating is that this process of redrawing the map, it hasn't stopped. It really demonstrates that India's map isn't some ancient relic fixed in stone. It's a living, breathing document that's still being written.
I mean, even in just the last decade or so, we've seen major changes. It just keeps reinforcing that core idea we talked about, a flexible internal structure inside an unbreakable union. Just look at the recent changes. You had the creation of Telangana out of Andhra Pradesh back in 2014. And then in 2019, the reorganization of the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 separate union territories. Both of these events show that Article 3 is still a very powerful, very active tool for shaping the nation's map.
So when you step back and look at the whole story, the transformation is just incredible. To go from that chaotic, fragmented collection of provinces and princely states in 1947, and to see how it's been constitutionally sculpted, piece by piece, into the unified political entity we see today, it's quite a journey.
Ultimately, the story of India's map is a story of finding unity through flexibility. It proves that a nation can be indestructible precisely because its internal parts aren't set in stone. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating thought to ponder. Since this map is clearly a masterpiece